What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. You know who this is. It's the truth, baby. It's the bald, the beard, and the dad bod god himself, Piers Austin. And man, we got a special one for you guys tonight. We got the one, we got the only Flip fucking Gordon in the house. Yeah, round of applause for Flip. One of my favorite people in the entire world, and I know I say that about every guest, but this time I actually mean it. But before we get into my conversation with Flip, I want to take a quick pause for the cause to talk about our amazing sponsor, Sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, Sleefs.com. If you or someone you know is an athlete, you need to go and check out Sleefs.com. They've got all your athletic gear and wear covered. They've got your compression pants, compression shorts, compression sleeves, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've got those dirty boxes that you always know that your boy is rocking. Now, let me tell you something. These dirty boxes are the best boxes that I own. I actually threw out all my other boxes. These dirty boxes stay dry. They stay fresh. They have funky designs at the front. So, keep that special person in your life giggling on what's on the front of your boxes, not what's inside them, if you know what I'm saying. But guys, go and check out those dirty boxes at Sleefs.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, wherever you're finding us, I appreciate you for tuning in. If you're tuning in on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified. Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. It helps with our analytics. It helps us bring more amazing content to more amazing people like yourselves. So tap the little red buttons and tap in, because you know we're bringing you some of the best content going around in the world today, baby. Woo! But I'm excited. But without further ado, I think it's now time to get into our conversation with the one, the only, Flip fucking Gordon. Yeah! What's up, guys? Welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. As I said in the intro, I'm here with one of my favorite people in the entire world, and I know that I say that about every guest, but this time I actually mean it. Flip Gordon, welcome to the show. Great to see you, brother.
Thanks for having me, bro. Very excited.
Hey, man, I'm excited. You know what, bro? This is actually a cool podcast to have you on, man, because I actually reached out to you a couple of years ago, and unfortunately the time wasn't right. And, you did turn me down, but I thought just recently, I'm going to try again because I really, really wanted to have a conversation with you, and I'm really excited that you accepted the offer. So thank you for agreeing to do the podcast, dude.
No, I appreciate it, man. That must have been when I was in Ring of Honor, because everything had to go through Ring of Honor to be approved for interviews back then.
Yeah, I think it may have been around that time, man. It may have been around that time, dude. But man, what's been going on with you lately, man? What's the latest with you?
Not much, man. I've been a free agent since Ring of Honor kind of went under last April. Well, I got paid till April at least. And so I've been a free agent since last April. And honestly, I'm having so much fun. I get to wrestle all over the world again. And after the pandemic, it's kind of like relieving to be able to just go out and just wrestle for all these companies, all these different crowds, and just getting those reps back in.
Yeah. How was the pandemic for you? Like how long did that set you off, wrestling for?
Well, the first year I only, like, once the pandemic hit, I think I only had like 4 or 5 matches maybe.
Wow.
Because like for the first like 6 to 8 months, we didn't have any shows.
Yeah, because everything was,
if I remember correctly, because I remember at first they were like no more, and then they started doing the little bubbles.
Mm. And then because I think a lot of people like places were doing like no fan shows or like no crowd shows and streaming them and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, Ring of Honor did the first ever no fan show. It was in Las Vegas, Nevada. And
mm,
literally, like, we flew there, and like halfway through, they're like, "Hey, if you guys want to fly back home, all the shows are canceled." And they kind of explained why. And I was
yeah,
just like, I'm already halfway to Vegas. You know what I
Jesus,
mean? And so I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna go all the way. And so I get there, and sure enough, shows were canceled. And me and Bandito actually ended up having a singles match. And so that was the weekend that the world locked down. It shut down. Like the next day, Vegas was a ghost town.
yeah.
So
It's crazy.
I had one of the first matches in Ring of Honor, had the first no fan show when the pandemic first hit.
How was that for you, like wrestling in front of no crowd? Because like
Horrible.
wrestling is such a like, and we are talking about this earlier, but it's such a different form of entertainment where I feel wrestling really thrives off a live audience. Like it's different when it's not. You know what I mean?
You need the audience. The audience, you know what I mean? They're that fourth wall. They're that fourth person in the, you know what I mean? It's
Mm,
really hard to have a show without that interaction. It's unlike any other sport. Basketball, they don't need to interact with the crowd. It's nice to hear that noise when you make a 3-pointer, right? But you're
yeah.
not directly engaging. With wrestling, you're directly engaging with your audience. And so it just felt really weird not having that element a part of the matches.
Mm.
You
But
know,
we
you're
even
used to being down on the mat and hearing the crowd at least make some noise. Instead, you're hearing the guy huffing and puffing over next to you on the mat. You know what I mean? Then you hear the ref loud and clear.
But you know what? Like we even saw that. Like I remember seeing Stone Cold come out and do like a come out for a promo during that time, and it's just like wow, with no crowd reaction, it's like his entrance just doesn't have the same.
I
You know what I mean?
know.
Like it's Stone Cold, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's still it didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like it was off.
I thought it was cool how they did like the everybody zoomed in and whatnot and what like that was clever. That was very cool.
Yeah, good
Other
way to make
sports
money
did
if you understand.
cardboard cutouts and stuff, but it's like you can't replace that noise. I guess WWE tried the best because they were piping in stuff, but it's still it's not the same as having that organic reaction right there and right then.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like over in the States, do indies ever pipe in noise at crowds and stuff? Like, I'm sure, like,
No, I don't think. I mean, not to my knowledge, but I
mm,
don't think so.
yeah. Because, like, I've heard stories like years ago that the places would pipe in noise and stuff, but like, that's
I mean,
crazy.
it
Like,
could happen, but I wouldn't know.
yeah,
They've never
100.
done it for my match.
Yeah. Well, you'd kind of know if there's like 40 people in the crowd and it sounds like there's 1,000. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you walk in and go,
Hey, I'm
wow, there's
wrestling
like,
in front of more than 40 people. Come on now.
no, no, I know. I'm just saying as an
I'm just
example.
kidding.
Yeah. But dude, like, you know, talking about Ring of Honor, like when Ring of Honor shut down, like it kind of was just this blanket statement. All talent are now released. We are completely done. Um, what was communicated to you when Ring of Honor sort of basically went down through that shutdown phase?
Well, I mean, I think the writing was kind of on the wall because a lot of people had some pretty nice guaranteed contracts, and
Mm,
we were running for 2 years straight still technically, but we weren't running any live shows. Like TV was still, you know what I mean, in a bubble essentially. There was no fans allowed. So when you're only doing a few pay-per-views a year and you're not drawing in any revenue because we were on Syndicate TV because it was owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. So
yeah,
like we didn't really have like a media rights deal where they were paying us a bunch of money to be on TV. So like from my mind, like from my business background, I was like, there's no way we can keep doing this for very long without selling tickets and bringing in some revenue because merch was down. You know what I mean? We weren't because they were just relying completely of online and like Honor Club, I guess. But to
yeah,
me, I was just like, this can't last forever. There's no way. And then so when they released us all, I was just like, oh, I was like, all right. I was like, well, they let us know in November. because a lot of the guys were up in December or January 1st, essentially. So they had to, I believe they had to tell at least everybody in November to give them their 30-day notice. Like some contracts had 90-day notices. I was one of those. So once December hit, I was still paid all the way until April 1st.
Oh well. Well, at least they honored like people's stuff and
Correct.
contracts.
Yes, it was. But it was just sad to see how it all went down because like there was wrestlers and like other people in the back that were like trying to offer like suggestions and help and like all this different stuff, and I just felt like the company wasn't really listening, and it wasn't Ring of Honor, it was the company above Ring of Honor that owned it.
Seems
Correct.
Yeah, because like we had a few wrestlers from Australia that were signed to Ring of Honor, and it was like that. Like I remember hearing that they were just like, yeah, like that communication just got completely shut off from them. They were like, "What's going on?" Like,
But Sinclair
they,
was great during the pandemic. They took very good care of us. They paid everybody, even people that were on per appearance deals. They still paid them. Um,
wow,
they made sure that people were getting tested before they flew, tested when they land, tested before they went home. Obviously, like stuff started getting more lax towards the end, but they
mm.
took it very seriously and they put our health and safety first.
But I think you have in that situation, it kind of has to be taken. Um, as a top priority for health, but for yourself, with Ring of Honor, man, like I actually wanted to ask you because like you like during your time of training and making your debut, you were actually like in the military, correct?
Correct. Yes, I was.
So like being in the military, I'd imagine would be like some pretty like strict regulations and stuff like that. Like, how were you able to sort of like navigate through going to like professional wrestling training, like and being in the military? Was that done sort of like kayfabe to them? Like, were they not?
No, like they knew. And like I was in the National Guard, so it was part-time. So I only trained 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks during the summer. And
Right, right.
originally when I enlisted, my first like unit was in Moscow, Idaho. And so I was there for about 2, 3 years. And then like I decided I wanted to pursue wrestling. So I moved from Idaho to Massachusetts and I did an interstate transfer. And I transferred over to a unit in Massachusetts. And so like when I started training for wrestling, I kind of just let them know like, hey, like this weekend I have wrestling. And they kind of always knew because I always talked about wrestling and
Yeah,
why I
yeah.
moved over there. When people ask, why'd you move over to the East Coast? I'm like, oh, for wrestling. They're like, what? What kind of wrestling? And so they kind of already knew. And then once I started getting booked on those like drill weekends, because
Yeah.
I would obviously in the beginning I had to take those weekends off, and then I'd be wrestling the other 3 weekends, and then eventually I was starting to get so many bookings that I was like, I kind of need to wrestle on this weekend too. So then they would actually started working with me. They would let me leave early from drill to go to a show. They would let me make it up during the week. They, you know what I mean? So they really worked with me, and it was kind of cool. And like a lot of people are like, oh man, no way. And like I almost got in trouble though, because when I first signed with Ring of Honor,
Yeah.
we were in Chicago and we had got new leadership and whatnot. And I tried explaining them the same deal I had with my past leadership. And they're like, no, you can't go. And I'm like, well, I just signed a contract. This is what I do for a living now. Like the Army wasn't paying me as much as I was making from Ring of Honor. And so I was just like, well, I got to go. You know what I mean? I just signed this deal. I'm not missing the first weekend after I signed this first contract, you know? And
100%.
so I get
Yeah.
a call and they're like, hey, where you at? And I was like, I'm in Chicago. I told you guys, like, I had wrestling. They're like, oh, well, we're going to have to consider you AWOL. And so that
Oh,
happened the following month, too. So 2 months in a row, I was considered AWOL because I ended up getting this big booking over in the UK. Went for that. Same thing. They call me, hey, where you at? Oh, well, I'm in Ireland. You know what I mean? And freaking, they're
Jesus.
like, whoa, whatever. And so this old command sergeant major who I met like a couple years prior happened to see me like, and I had talked to him because he used to be a indie wrestler over in Washington State.
Yeah.
And so he kind of called me and he was just like, hey man, like what's the deal? Like we talked a couple times and you really like looked like you had your head on your shoulders. Now I see that you're considered AWOL. Like what the heck's going on? And I just kind of explained everything to him. And he's like, you know what? He's like, I'm gonna transfer you down to my unit. I'm going to work with you. We're going to make up all the days that you need to make up. And he's like, we're going to get you to be honorably discharged. And the reason he did, I'm sure there's many reasons, but like one of the main reasons is because now I'm able to talk about how the military worked with me, how they helped me accomplish my dreams. And like that's what the National Guard is for. People, it's so you can serve your country part-time, learn skills to benefit you in your, you know what I mean, your civilian life, just to learn discipline and like, you know what I mean, all these different things. But they'll still allow you to have a life outside of the military. And
It
had
sounds
I
like Army
been
reserves here, yeah.
And had I been dishonorably discharged, I probably wouldn't be putting over the Army right now. I'd be like, oh man, that sucked. I had a horrible time. Blah, blah. They wouldn't work with me. They wouldn't let me, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they was quite the contrary, you know?
Yeah, I can just imagine you going down the Klinger route from MASH and putting on like a dress and trying to get like discharged for like I'm not sure, maybe you're a bit too young for to seen MASH, but you know what I mean. Like that's yeah, I can see could have seen you doing that gimmick.
Oh, dude, like it was very scary because I was like, man, I put all this time, like almost 6 years in. I did
Yeah,
6 years, but at the time it was almost 6 years, and I was like, I can't afford to get kicked out.
yeah.
And so like that command sergeant major, like he really came in clutch to help me and like kind of like save my military career and help kickstart my wrestling career.
That's awesome, man. And like, because like you really think like military and stuff like that probably wouldn't really be accepting of that as well. But like to be able to have like a commander that was like, hey, look, I can see what's going on here. Like,
Yeah,
you're not going to be a lifer in the military. This is like a part-time deal for you. You know what I mean? Like, wrestling is where your real passion is laying here, right?
correct. Yep. And he saw that. And like I think him being a former indie guy, he kind of understood the grind. He's like, hey, you gotta, you know what I mean? You gotta hit the iron while it's hot, you know? And I was starting to steam up a little bit. And he was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like yeah, someone who actually knew the business as well. So you know, it was a win-win for you, man.
Yeah, it was funny because he would be like watching like Being the Elite and he'd be like, oh man, I saw your video this weekend.
Dude, like I really feel like your wrestling career sort of like, you know, I mean, from when you started, like you just pretty much skyrocketed, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like you started in what 2015, by 2017, 18, you're in Ring of Honor, and you know
Yeah,
what
I
I mean? Like,
signed with Ring of Honor just like right around 2 years. Technically, I signed with them right before my 2 year mark in the business because I started May 6th, 2015, and I
mm,
debuted for them April, I think it was like April 6th or April 5th in 2017.
that's
So
wild.
just under, like barely under 2 years. That was my goal. I was like, I want to make a living at this within 2 years.
That's insane because like a lot of people, it takes a long time to get to that level, man.
Yeah,
Like,
and the only other guy to do it was Leo Rush. And I saw
that's the
him
other
kind of
name I was just
skyrocket, and
thinking.
I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. Like at least I got to try. And so like it's kind of cool because he went to Ring of Honor first, and I went to Ring of Honor, so I kind of called my shot.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, 100%. Like what was, you know, how did you get into working with the elite guys and I suppose the old Bullet Club at that stage, but how did you sort of get in tight with those guys?
I don't know how it exactly happened. I remember like the first bit I did was with the Young Bucks in Tijuana, Mexico. And at the time, I didn't really even know what Being the Elite was. I know who the Young Bucks were, but I
Yeah.
didn't follow the show. And they were like, "Hey, man, we just kind of we heard you signed with Ring of Honor. We'd love to do like a little bit with you, blah blah." And they did that bit, and then that episode, that's when Cody said, "Who the f is Flip Gordon?" And that kind of just got me trending on Twitter. Essentially, Cody's genius when it comes to marketing and stuff like that. And so like that is kind of how it started. But I don't like me and Cody were on the road together for quite a bit when he first came to the independents because I was on my way up and he was brand new. So like we would drive to shows because we were on all the same shows essentially. And so
Mm.
we got to know each other very well. And so I don't know like if he ended up putting me over to the Bucks and I was like, hey man, this kid, he's got something. I'm not sure.
Mm.
But that's
How did
essentially how it happened.
How, like, cause like, you traveling with Cody was like, I mean, because you would have seen this guy on national TV, the son of Dusty
Oh,
Rhodes,
I
and
grew up watching him. I
yeah,
watched him when I was in high school, if not,
like,
before then.
were you intimidated to be around him at the start? Were you like, oh fuck, like,
Not really. Cody was a sweetheart. He was always super nice, like very easy to get along with. Um, but like it was funny because when we started doing the being the elite stuff, like I wasn't sure if it was like a legit harmless rib. I was like, all right, how long is this gonna go for? Like, are they just gonna be, all right, man, thanks, get out of here now. Like I didn't know. And then like next thing you know, I'm on it for years. Or maybe not years, but it was quite a long time.
it was a
I
solid run.
became a regular character of the show. And at the time, I didn't even realize how big the show was. And so looking back now, it's like, man, that show was massive. That really helped my career.
Dude, but
And
you
I'm
know,
forever grateful for the boys for helping me and just basically be like, here, can you do this? And then be like, yeah. And then obviously it got over online and I was still able to just perform and, you know what I mean, do what I needed to do to be on the show. And I ended up, that was probably the most fun I had in my career was being on Being the Elite.
but also as well, I feel like your character on Being the Elite was like this such a lovable underdog. Whereas, like, I mean, when I would watch it, I'm like sitting there going, man, it's really hard. Like, I'm really rooting for this guy. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to see this guy get into the stable. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and it
Like
was
that.
cool because I didn't have a gimmick really back then. I was just the former military guy. But
Yeah.
being the elite character was basically my character. That was my gimmick. But
Mm.
it was just me. I was just being genuine. And I do have a genuinely underdog story.
But I feel like even with that as well, like being so new into the business, it would have been such a like
It
learning
was sink
experience
or
as
swim.
well. Yeah. But
I
also
didn't
just
have no
learning
choice,
as well,
you know?
like but to build that character up and to understand a role and be at a part in that as well.
I remember like talking to the boys once and they were like, with like the where do you think you're going and then like stuff like that. They're like, I wonder how long we can get this to. You think we can go a year? I remember Matt Jackson one time being like, you think we could go a whole year with this whole bit? Because they wanted to do stories, you know?
Mm. Yeah. And like
But
that's
then
where
we
I think
eventually paid it off with I want to go home.
yeah. Well, that's what I think, like being the elite, even now, like with AEW, it's like it's just another way for them to progress storylines and stuff like that. And it's always been like one of those really entertaining, sort of shows, especially when like, I mean, like the little digs of like the insider shit that like the real smart marks are going like, oh, you know what I mean? Like those sort of moments. It's like, and the digs and the
Yeah.
jokes. I really have enjoyed the show, man. Um,
One of
but
the
like,
biggest memories I have during that time, sorry to interrupt,
uh,
I just don't want to forget this thought, but was the where do you think you're going? There was this show, I believe it was no, it wasn't Atlanta. I think it was like Pittsburgh. It could have been Atlanta,
yeah,
or Columbus. It was one of those three, I'm pretty sure. And Matt Jackson ended up grabbing the microphone, and in the match, I'm going to tag like blind, and I grab his hand, wrong corner, right? Trying to
yeah,
tag
yeah,
my guy to get out, and he does the "Where do you think you're going?" and the whole crowd came up huge for it, and it was like that was our high spot. Our high spot was "Where do you think you're going?" And people would come up to me in every place I went. Like first time in Ireland, people would come up, "Where do you think you're going?" And like that, everybody wanted to do that with me. It's crazy, like how
Do you
over
still
that got. So
do you still
simple.
get it? Do you still get it today?
Oh, not as much, but I definitely still get it today.
That's awesome, man. How did you like with the whole like Bullet Club and Elite thing? Was there ever a plan to bring you in as an official member of the stables, or was it always like, nah, we're gonna
I
have
don't
you?
know. I never asked. I would literally just show up and be like, "Do you guys need me today?" And they'd be, yeah, we got this idea. I didn't like very rarely would I pitch anything, but it
Yeah,
was all just them coming up, and I was just like, I don't want to bother these guys. Like I'm still green, and like I said, I was like, I don't know if this is just one long harmless rib where they basically just bury me. Like I didn't know what was gonna happen.
yeah.
And I didn't have the confidence back then to like really ask. I was just like, all right, well, then I'm gonna keep just going until they say bye, basically, you know?
looking back now, like knowing what you know now and putting back in that situation back then, would you have gone and tried to push for certain things, or do you feel like your time during on being the elite couldn't have gone any better for you?
I think it couldn't have gone any better. Like the payoff for All In, the whole not being booked, being all out, you know what I mean? Like that, everything, like the way it all accumulated, like that was my high spot. That was my high moment. And so I wouldn't change a single thing.
No, I thought it was good. Like the All In, because like they had you in the Rumble. Like I honestly thought you were going to win the Ring of Honor title. I thought you were like
Me too.
The way they built the story up, I was like,
it honestly,
they got to do it.
I like not to go into business for myself, but like I thought that would have been the biggest payoff personally. But that's just me because my goal is to be ROH world champion, you know? But to me, I'm like, oh, we had this big pop winning the over the top battle royal. Oh, and now he just lost. It was like that was my moment. It was like if there was any time to put a strap on me, that was the time I had thought. But
yeah,
I'm fine with whatever. You know what I mean? My bag was a little bit lighter going home.
which sometimes is
that's a heavy belt. That's a very heavy championship belt.
Yeah. Well, that I can imagine that is, man. I tell you what, Ring of Honor have had, man, they've changed their belts quite a few times over the years, man. I think the one that they had at that stage was like, it looked huge.
Oh, it was insane.
Yeah, but you know, when AEW started, like I know a lot of fans were probably sitting there going, like, why were you not signed? Why? You know what I mean? Because I think like
you had a longer contract than everybody else. And so I was at Best of the Super Juniors with Marty, and my contract had just come up while I was in Japan. And it being my first deal, well, I guess technically my second deal, I didn't understand how contracts worked. I didn't understand that it would go month to month. In my head, I'm like, I need to resign so I have a guaranteed paycheck, you know what I mean, every month going forward. And so I kind of rushed into re-signing that before talking to the boys. And so I ended up signing a multi-year deal, and that kept me there well past like an extra year and a half or so past when the elite left.
Sure.
And so once that contract came up and I negotiated, Ring of Honor gave me the best bid out of all three companies or four companies.
Yeah, right.
And so I stuck with Ring of Honor. I wanted to be Ring of Honor world champion. That was my goal. I told myself I wasn't leaving Ring of Honor until I became world champion. Unfortunately, they got rid of me before I could do it. So that was kind of my out, but that's still a goal of mine. I have lots of goals in wrestling. I'm in no rush to go anywhere. I'm telling my own story. I have my own ideas and things that I want to do in this business, and I'm in no rush to go anywhere. I just want to have fun and accomplish the goals that I've set out for myself.
100%. I mean, has, you know, since the purchase or the sale of Ring of Honor to AEW, has there been any conversation about you going into Ring of Honor, AEW? Has there been any contact?
No, I haven't had any conversation since I got released from Ring of Honor with AEW.
Wow. Because I would have thought having the connection there, like you would have been like.
But I haven't asked either. I haven't reached out to anybody to ask. I feel like if they think I'm good enough, they should reach out to me.
100%.
And maybe that's wrong for thinking that, but every other time in my career, the companies were reaching out to me. So like I'm, you know what I mean? I'm just doing what I'm doing. And honestly, I have zero interest in wrestling for TV right now. I'm still experimenting and trying new things and trying to figure out who I am as a wrestler or who I want to be as a wrestler. And I'm having a hell of a time doing it. I'm having so much fun.
Well, that was actually going to be my question is like, you know, did you want to sign a full-time contract for a national company? Is that something that is like right now, you know what I mean? But obviously like
not right now, but in the future, absolutely. But like right now, like I said, I have a lot of goals that I want to do. And some of those goals I can't do if I'm confined to a contract. Would I love to come in and tell a story, do a handshake deal for 3 to 6 months or whatever, how long the story is? Absolutely. I'm 100% for that because I want to tell great stories and have great matches.
Do you feel like a lot of
But do I want to sign a 2-3 year deal come in and then be off TV or not have any ideas. It's like, no, if I'm coming in, I want to have an idea. Have something for me. Because if not, I'm just going to do my own thing on the independents, make my own schedule. I don't want to just be flown in just to sit and chill and see other people doing what I want to do. I'd rather be out wrestling.
Yeah. Do you feel like a lot of younger performers and wrestlers would sort of jump at an opportunity to get signed, but then, you know what I mean? Like without seeing the forest from the trees, so to speak, you know what I mean? Like going, oh, yeah, get signed. And like,
oh, absolutely. Everybody wants a contract because they want, I feel like, at least now with the way social media is, like, oh, I'm not a professional wrestler unless I have a signed deal. It's like, no, like, if you're making a living at this, you're a professional wrestler. You don't need a contract to be a professional wrestler. That just makes you a signed professional wrestler. But honestly, like somebody like AJ Styles, he was on the independents for how long? And look how freaking amazing that made him. To the point when he went to WWE, his first deal, I guarantee, was millions of dollars.
100%.
So I'm
And it
in
was
no
like
rush. I'd rather go that route,
straight onto
there,
TV.
go to developmental, and then maybe get released, and you know what I mean, and go through depression. And then I'm like, no, I just do it my own way, have fun, wrestle, get as good as I can get, and then if I get a great offer, I'll take it. If not, no big deal. I'm having fun doing what I'm loving doing, you know.
Well, I feel AJ's and when he went to WWE, it was a very much like an old school feel of it. You know what I mean? Like from when during the 80s and the 90s and that sort of time when the guys would come in, it's like they would come from working other territories, other places and stuff like that and go straight on to like the big show where it's like now, oh, well, they go to developmental. You got to be there for like 2 years, you know, get accumulated with the WWE. Then people know you're already in the system. And then it's like, okay, so then you get called up.
And
I'm not
against that at all, because I would love to learn from guys like HBK and whoever else they have down there at the moment. I can't remember who the coaches are now. They've changed it up so much. But like one of my best friends, Carmelo Hayes, we trained together at New England Pro Wrestling Academy, and he's gone through the NXT developmental system, and he's a freaking huge star. You know what I mean? I was going to be a huge star. And so like, it's a great system, but so's the independence. And I remember asking William Regal at a seminar once, and this had to have been 2017 or 18 before I signed with Ring of Honor. And basically I asked him, I said, do you think it's better to go to the PC and learn from you guys or travel the world and learn that way? And he was like, when you come to the PC, you're learning from the same 30, you know what I mean, whatever people they have down there. He's like, when you travel the world, you're learning from hundreds and hundreds of different people. He's like, go learn how to work in the different crowds. Go learn how to this. And that to me was like, all right, that's what I wanted to hear. I was like, I'm glad he said it, because that's what I really wanted to hear. And that's when I kind of was like, all right, let's go do this. And that was back in 2017, right before I got signed by Ring of Honor. And it worked. Working the independents has made me a very good professional wrestler. And because you're put in so many different scenarios that I feel like you wouldn't be in on TV. But obviously I love TV wrestling too.
Oh, of course. I feel like it's two separate types of wrestling though. Like, you know what I mean? Television wrestling, independent wrestling, you know what I mean? Or non-televised wrestling. You know what I mean? Like it's two different sort of styles of how it's done. But, you know, I think I remember like even Cody said once, it's like the difference between like NXT and the independents is like these guys are they're getting like an NXT can train doing this whole match for like 3 weeks, like every day training.
Yeah, it should be a 5-star match. By the time they perform it should be a 5-star match.
And he's like, but these guys go out in the indies and just, you know what I mean, call the shit in the ring and you know, get it going that way. And it's like, but it's true though. Like they have this opportunity to go in there and get trained by all these people. Like it should be the best wrestling in the world, right?
Yeah. And they have the best wrestling in the world at WWE. Not going to lie.
Yeah. I mean,
but I hate to interrupt you. I am getting like pinged because I am outside at a show right now getting ready to go wrestle. And so they're asking where I'm at.
All right, man. Well, look, we you know what? We're going to have to do a part 2, I feel like, Flip, because we're just.
I feel absolutely. I feel like I could talk to you forever, bro.
Oh, bro, look, you know what, man? We definitely are going to do a part 2. But before we do, it is that time of the show where we are going to be doing 60 seconds with Piers. How this works is I've got a bunch of random questions I'm going to fire off at Flip, and he's got 60 seconds to answer as many as he can. Flip, are you ready for us to start the clock, bro?
I am, bro.
All right, man. We'll get started. Favorite karaoke song to sing?
Ooh, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
What sport did you play as a kid?
I wrestled amateur. I played football in junior high, and I played soccer in high school.
What is your go-to drink at a night out?
Tequila.
What is the shittest gift you have ever given someone?
I don't know. I'm a freaking great gift giver, so probably I've never had a bad gift that I've given somebody.
What's the shittest gift you've ever been given?
I don't know. I'm horrible at getting gifts too. Shittiest gift. What was it? I don't know. Socks as a kid. My mom always felt like I needed socks as a stocking stuffer.
Would you
now
rather?
I wish I want. Now I need socks all the time. But as a kid, you're like, I don't want socks.
100%. As you get an adult, you always need socks. Would you rather fight 2 horse-sized ducks or 100 duck-sized horses?
100 duck-sized horses. That sounds cool. I could stomp them like flat earths.
What is the weirdest thing that you have ever eaten?
Horse in Japan.
Would you rather own a boat or a plane?
Plane for sure.
What is something that you're embarrassed to admit that you would like, that you like, kind of like a guilty pleasure?
Ooh, I don't know. Vanilla ice cream. I could eat vanilla ice cream all day, every day.
And last one, in 5 minutes' time, you're being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
A level.
Yeah, a level.
and a telescope.
All right. We'll give it. There you go. That has been 60 seconds with Piers, with Flip Gordon, man. Like I said, 37 minutes. We get into it, bro. I really want to do a part 2 because I feel like we're just getting started here. But man, look, I end every interview with this one question, bro. And I'm going to ask you that is, what is the one question I didn't ask you in this interview that you wish that I did ask you, and how would you have answered it?
Where can your fans follow you? And I would answer, you can follow me on Instagram at @TheFlipGordon.
There you go. Go follow him at The Flip Gordon on Instagram. But guys, we'll catch you again very soon. Make sure you go and check out our sponsor, Sleeves. Also, make sure you go and follow Flip Gordon at The Flip Gordon on Instagram. But guys, we'll catch you again very soon. We'll bring you a part 2 coming up with Flip in the near future.
Yeah.
Till
then,
then,
kick some
take
ass
care.
now.
That's the way. Till then, take care. All the best. Peace.